here for our HyperX High Performance Insight. It's the man we've had too many a time. He loves being on here. It's Fabian Broich, our Head of Performance. How are you, Fabian?
Hi guys, excited for the final episode.
Absolutely, same here. So we want to talk a little bit to you about the out-of-game performance side in relation to best of fives. We touched on best of fives a lot with Joey last week from a sort of coaching, drafting, analysis perspective. But for you in performance, you know, a best of five must feel like a very different beast in terms of how you approach it compared to a best of one. Can you just start off like some insight on kind of the lead up into the week for best five that might be different to, say, the league format?
Yeah, what is pretty different, obviously, to a best of one or best of three is that the best of five is quite intense. If you would talk about an athlete, this is quite of your condition you must have. 1 or 3 games you can play on adrenaline, but most people actually who aren't that fit, they drop massively in performance after 3 hours. So after best of 3. Having said this, I think there's several things you can focus on. From the training load, I think it's really important to imitate on the week beforehand, have 2-3 days during swim days where you actually mimic a best of 5 series. That means instead of usually you do your presentation before, play a game, then review, play a game, review, you would actually not do big reviews, you would do 15 minutes reviews, and also before the game you would do your routine. And why is it important? Just that it doesn't feel cold or odd when you actually are in this situation. And most likely also what we would tell them is that you always focus on what's next. And this is something we really have to learn about, because normally in practice you play the game and then you talk about the game. Whereas in the best of 5, you play the game and you look for the next game. So obviously if there's 1-2 major things the coaches want to go about, okay, guys, they always place that ward, look at this or whatsoever, but I think it's really essential that you stay with it, like basically focus on your strengths and also not adapt too much, like being sure what you have to do. Obviously if you're 0-2 and nothing is working, obviously you might want to adapt something, but it's more about like refocus, reset. So in my previous teams, unfortunately, at Excel, we haven't had a best of playoff series. I hope that's coming up soon.
Next split.
Yeah.
Is that a promise?
I think so too. But we always would make sure that they are going outside, get some fresh air, get some nutrition, some sugar, because they burn a lot of calories, but also drink enough. And also have some time to relax, be on the self. But also before a game routine would be important. Like, let's say, what do we do in a league game? So you will get picked up 2 hours prior with the shuttle. So you're 1.5 hours before at the studio. Then you're in your room, and then you can obviously get some drinks, some snacks. But like the last hour, really before the game starts, we will make sure we turn off, if there's a game ahead, we turn off the screen. We focus on ourselves, we take the phones away, we don't want to have like distraction from social media. And then we either play board game or make just jokes, depending on how the chemistry or how funny your players are. Then you focus on what you want to do, go over the structure period of scouting. You can do it either in the beginning or short before you go on stage. Then we would do like a breathing exercise. So all the stuff we're doing, you obviously can change it for different things. Our goal is to actually mimic a structure. So no matter where you are, that you have always the same structure 1 hour before the game, because structure decreases anxiety and leads to safety and security. And that's what you want to be. You want to be confident. And after the breathing exercise, we would go outside, we loosen up the body, get some fresh air, that the nervous system is activated. And since you're obviously also a little bit stressed, we will do this exercise you might have seen in the vlog. Looks a bit stupid, but what you would normally do is you don't move your head, just the eyes, and just follow where the finger is going. And then after a while, so this is just the visual perception. And then after a while, I would do, for example, math equation, or say, what's the capital city of Germany or whatsoever. So then you have a multitask, because in the beginning or in the game, you also have to talk while you play. It's just that you get a little bit the brain activated, especially for the mini-map. So you will do crossovers instead of just straight lines, because you will always diagonal look.
Little things I love. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it's like the little thing. Some people you might see, Missy Alfonso, for example, he juggled. Since we didn't have balls, he had like apples, so he was juggling like this. Everyone has their own method to get into flow. Some people want to listen to their music. Some people just want to be by themselves, walk a bit around the studio. But this is also something really important, having a structure between the games in the best of 5. For me, as a performance coach, it's really important to motivate them, to cheer them up, to make them recognize about their strengths and roots. But also sometimes if you see someone is really stressed, that you just put your arm on the shoulder or give a little like scrub, like a rub, I don't know if it's called like a massage for the neck, to decrease the tension, because most stress comes actually from, it's called the atlas. It's like the root, and this is physically and mentally. I can talk a lot about many things. Basically, it's really good to have a routine beforehand, and that coaching stuff is basically there for the demands of the player, where some players might be really stressed, some players are really cool, but in the end, they really need some nutrition, and we have to make sure that they are like focused and not getting distracted by any environment. Yeah.
So you say like it's really important to have a routine. With players who already have one, have you ever been in a situation where it's like, we need to sort of change this routine because it needs to be better, or is it just really personal? Is it like, so if one person who has been playing for years and every time 10 minutes before the game he goes on Twitter to see what people think of him or something, and that's his part of his routine, it's one of those strange balances. I was just wondering if you had thoughts on that in terms of, from coaching staff, I guess, enforcing better habits as opposed to comfort. Like, is it just different per player, I guess?
It's a really good question, because it's difficult, because obviously that is not benefiting him, but he's just used to this routine. And if that's his routine, you don't want to make someone really uncomfortable short before the game. For example, expect he drank Red Bulls in the beginning when I met him before the game.
Down
and I was like, and Patrick was like, Fabian, do you see what he's drinking? And he's like almost trying to hide. And I say, yeah, that's fine. And obviously he understood why I said it's fine. But in the end, he stopped doing it, because then we just found some sugary drinks or caffeine. But it's if you have players who have patterns, I'm the last one who say change it for sure. But is there something like the rules with the phone? I actually will go through this, and let's say it's the first game he does that, and I will tell him, okay, next time this can't happen, because that's actually one of the 2 things we agree on, and we can discuss about this. I see why you do it, but if you tell me you win the game because you use the phone, okay, you can do it, but then you also have to win every single game. It's a little bit like this, like, I don't want to be like the dads. They have to have autonomy, but like, for example, in football, there's a locker room rule. As soon as you're in the locker room, you can't even show your phone, otherwise it's a fine. So it's about being in the zone, be with the people around. I don't know, I talked a lot about Last Dance, 2 new episodes came in. Like, when you see how people behave, or even teammates call each other out, we are not that far in esports yet. It's just like really important, like you mentioned, because also everyone is individual, and if we all do one routine together, not everyone can be individual. So that's why we have times within there. And also we listen to the feedback of the players. So you will see me changing stuff over the split slightly. And then also when you move to a different team, still some players keep the routines by themselves and just do them by themselves. Like you said, there is no black or white answer. It's a combination of what do they need? What can we make sure to decrease a risk of choking under pressure, because that's all it is, actually making sure that they are focused. But really good question. There is no straight answer to that. People should have individual time, because people are really different, and some people really need to do some activity or yell something out for motivation, or need to do a team talk. Other people want to be quiet. Other people listen to crazy hard Metallica rock music. Some people like pianos. Some people don't want to talk to anyone. And also you can see when you do the routine and players are not that active, you see that, and you obviously not call them out because you see maybe right now they just be there and don't want to disrupt something.
How long does it take you to work with a player to kind of direct their routine into a more positive, more healthy, let's say, route? Like, let's use the day, and you mentioned the day hand like chunking Red Bull, and I know you allowed that for the first few weeks versus later on in the season he had moved to a much better system for things like caffeine and getting his head ready. And it took a whole split. Like, how do you like lots of time work with players? Do you have a set path in mind for every single one? Kind of touch what you said, but how long does it take for you, do you think, to have your influence over a player to help them be more positive?
That's a really good question. When I came into esports, I was obviously not confident at all. I didn't know what I have to expect, how cocky players are and how much freedom they actually have. So I just tried to be a role model and lead by example. At this time, when I was at Schalke, I was playing semi-professional besides that. So I had 2 times practice in the morning, went there after the session. In the afternoon, I went to practice and came back. And I think they just really could see. And also they say, oh, you don't look that old, actually. What are you doing? You keep that young, and then you have a conversation. Without relationship, there's nothing going to happen. And then if you have a buy-in, let's say someone has really bad sleep issues, this is the most issue or the biggest issue, you help him with this, he trusts you. And if you have the trust, you can do it. Also at Schalke, when I started there, they were really bad. They were 8th place, and then we changed stuff in the summer, and they wanted to change. If you're doing bad and you're not going to change, like, where do you want to end up? So they were open for change. At Origin, I had a really interesting situation with Alfari. He said everything outside of the game would take away time from inside of the game, and that would not make him better. He wants to play more. And now he's maybe one of the most professional guys outside of the game, lost a lot of weight, has been more and more consistent. For him, it took at least a split. You had to explain every single time why you're doing stuff. And I think he almost had just fun to ask you questions that you can't answer anymore. So it was, they really were proving you. The good thing with esports players, though, is they're extremely smart compared to, like, say, football players where I came from. So if something makes sense, they will try it. They will try it as soon as they believe that you know what you're talking about. So it's really important for performance coach that you're confident, and sometimes also know if you are laid back with some people and pushy with others. Also about the Korean players, where they have a different culture than the European players. I also have a, let's say, different baseline starting at Excel with Patrick compared to anyone else because we have worked previously. So it's really, it always sounds about, that's not the tough performance. Coaching is not rocket science, the topics. What's really, sensitive is the structure. It's really easy to destroy a relationship or to make someone feel bad. And then, it's just like really hard to get someone to a good relationship and really easy to fuck it up. So, it takes a while. I can't tell you it takes 3 weeks, a split. I think also when you get more and more recommendation or people know you before you join somewhere, it helps you a lot. Some people see, like, looking for someone to help them because they know they have issues. And some people just think, oh, Fabian, you bullshit. What you're doing is nice, but do it with the other guys, not with me. And if that's the case, you try to really work on those guys, because that is then also my challenge and motivation, because I would say, okay, let's how do I get a medium that the person receives what I'm saying, and that goes, if you don't lead by example, if you don't be healthy and do this, what you expect from others, they will never do it. So I think that's the key.
I want to touch on a slightly different area as well, which is during the vlogs, and you touched on it already, we've seen numerous warm-up techniques. We've seen, as you said, we've seen the eye one with the mats. We've seen the tennis ball drop. Yep. We've seen the breathing one, where you're just sitting in the dark breathing. It's something a lot of fans ask about, is like what those techniques are and how it is each one helps. You've spoken about how you've got the focus of like the eye movement together with like the multitasking of trying to do maths equations. Can you talk a little about perhaps about the tennis ball dropping one, or of course like the breathing technique and what they're for?
Yeah. the tennis balls, I think we did it just once. Maybe the BT XL team did it. It's a reaction time thing. It really depends. You can either have the ball in the hand and then just drop it, and someone has to grab it before it drops, or you even, like, someone is behind me, the player is facing the wall, and then the coach just throws it against the wall, and then you have to react from the wall. This is just hand-eye coordination and reaction time. And the most important thing, which I believe is we call it slow-paced breathing. So normally we have, how many? 15 to 20 cycles a minute where you breathe, like breathe in, breathe out is one cycle, 12 to 20, 15 to 20. What you can do is you can reduce it to 6, and then obviously you drop the cortisol level, that's the stress hormone. And that is obviously really important, because these guys sometimes, especially if you have rookies, they come out of their child room or their personal room into a stage. They don't know how to behave under pressure. They're really insecure about all the stuff around. So you would normally breathe in 4.5 seconds and breathe out 5.5 seconds. So it's a parasympathicus activity, because when you breathe in, you actually are contracting, and when you breathe out, you're exhaling, you're relaxing, and this has to be lower, and this will drop your heart rate. And this is also really important, because the more calm you are, the more focused you are, the easier you get into the flow state. And the flow state is actually where everything is working autonomously. So everything is going just, it's basically the 4-0 run. You know, everything is just working with the BTXL team. And what we also then sometimes integrate is like focus on the communication. So while they're breathing, I do also a little bit of a pep talk,
Well, I'm excited to see. It seems to become a bit of a competition, I've noticed, between some of the other out-of-performance coaches on who has the more fun in-game one. I know Jake from Mad Lions does a whole variety of things and stuff, so I'll be curious to see if you've got any new ones for next split, perhaps. You got any in the pipeline you can share with us, or are you going to stick to current?
More visually interesting for the vlog.
For the vlog.
I mean, we will definitely change a little bit, since also now we have Simon as a performance or team manager, who's helping a lot, that I can focus especially on these routines on game days, on the mental side way more, where also my massive strength is. So we will definitely change things up, because we also have quite of a different squad for this split, and things will be easier to address, and it's also easier to get words or communication out of this. So it will be more about communication tasks. And if it would have been too complex, and we wouldn't have reached the goal with the squad before. And therefore, we can make, fortunately, some adjustments and improvements, and also some more difficult things in order to get them more set.
Well, we're coming up to our time now, I'm afraid. So I'll just leave you this, Fabian. You have 30 seconds to say to all the fans watching then what you're feeling about Summer Split and how excited you are for it.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's really important to share that the fans have been tremendous. I think we often talk about toxicity and fans are being really negative. I think that's really unconditional support from the Excel fans. I know every org talks about this, but I'm actually quite surprised. Having said this, we're going to make you happy, even though you're happy with whatever we do, because you trust in us. But I don't like to talk too much. I hope you see some action in summer.
Hell yeah, love it.
Very cool.
Well, for the last time of the series, thank you so much for being with us, Fabian. As we leave you to it, we'll be moving on to our next segment of the show. That's the NeoSurf recap. In the meantime, we'll be taking a short break. Thank you for...
We won't be quite taking a short break.
We won't be taking a short break.
We'll be doing our giveaway, HyperX.
Oh,
giveaway.
We will be... I forgot it already. First thing, HyperX giveaway is complete. So all those who entered, you typed an XL into the chat. I believe we'll be showing in the Twitch chat very, very shortly who our winner of the... I'm going to have to read it. Limited edition Ducky Mini 2-1 keyboard is. Woo!
Nice.
So hopefully that will pop up. LB Quick has won the giveaway. Congrats to you, sir. Small comment for you, Fabian. In fact, LB Quick did note in the Twitch chat earlier that your comments on these shows and some of your videos have been really inspirational to help them stay fit and motivated during this crazy time. So I thought you might appreciate that comment. So well done to you, LB Quick. We'll be moving to a break before we come back with our NeoSurf recap. But thank you so much for joining us, Fabian.